Welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung, and today we're going to be talking about why do so many people just dislike Tua Tagovailoa? Why does the national media, even with everything that Tua has accomplished, still believe that he is not capable of being the franchise quarterback that the Miami Dolphins need? Why does social media still feel this way? Why do some of the public at large still have this distinct distrust of Tua's capability to be able to do the job? We're going to go ahead and get into all that. The reason we're talking about this is because Mike McDaniel actually recently went on to a podcast and was asked that same question. Why do people seem to still not trust Tua? Why do people still dislike Tua? And Mike McDaniel gave some very interesting answers to that question, and we're going to get into that right now. I'm also going to go ahead and talk about where we could get some backup information for what his answers could possibly be the truth. So before that, really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that, as always, this show is brought to you by our friends over at You Brake Wheel Fix. You Brake Wheel Fix is the complete automotive wheel solution. Ever parked too close to the sidewalk curb? You Brake Wheel Fix specializes in the repair of damaged wheels from bends, cracks, and curb rash. Or maybe your wheels are faded or peeling. You don't need to replace them, as You Brake Wheel Fix can refinish them to like new. Offering complete refinish options through powder coating, machining, and polishing, You Brake Wheel Fix is the answer to all of your wheel needs. And if you're just looking to give your ride a new look, You Brake Wheel Fix also offers many car customizing options, such as new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands, performance upgrades, window tinting, and suspension modifications. Located just south of Aventura, you can reach Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. They are really active on all social media platforms at You Brake Wheel Fix, so shoot them a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and get an estimate in just minutes. So don't delay, go to You Brake Wheel Fix and start customizing your ride to show off your Dolphins fandom today. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each, it's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials where you can get your money back if you lose, or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up if you are any kind of a fantasy sports fan. So use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5, that's FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with and get started winning today. All right, so we're going to go ahead and talk about this whole Tua Tagovailoa situation once again. So the reason we're bringing this back is because Mike McDaniel actually recently went on a podcast by the name of Pardon My Take. If you want to go ahead and look that up, you can just go ahead and look it up on YouTube. Pardon My Take, Mike McDaniel. That is the interview that will pop up. You just have to scroll through the rest of the show to be able to get to the Mike McDaniel part. He spent the better part of a half hour just talking to these guys, and one of the questions that were brought up was, why do you think Tua Tagovailoa gets so much hate, gets so much controversy about him, gets so much polarization with everything? And Mike McDaniel acknowledged that this is very much the case. So he's not somebody who usually shies away from questions. He'll usually make a bad joke about something if maybe he thinks it's something he shouldn't answer. For instance, when Chris Perkins asked in the media availability what he thought about the whole Dalvin Cook situation, the obvious joke was that Mike McDaniel said, "Oh, I wasn't born yesterday, so let me just tell him my birthday." That's the kind of sense of humor that Mike McDaniel has. For some, it just kind of wears thin. I don't particularly mind it. I like that he has a sense of humor about things. It's very refreshing in the sense that not only does he have a sense of humor, but he's also taking it very seriously at the same time, and he's also showing that he's humble about the situation. He came from a situation where he had to work his way up. He had to learn things he didn't necessarily know how to do before in order to be able to just keep his job, and he's overcome a lot in his life. So I feel like that he has a lot of football knowledge and he has a lot of football acumen, but he's humble enough to realize, you know what, there are things that other people can teach me. I'm not always the smartest guy in the room. That helps a lot. So with Mike McDaniel, he makes his jokes and we can kind of mess with it and we can tolerate it and we can even enjoy it if we are in that kind of mood because of the kind of person that he's proven to be. So the question of why does Tua get so much hate? He gave a couple of reasons. So one of the reasons he gave, and this is just something that I would have to do some actual research on this to be able to get an understanding of how that all works. I did get into some research on one of these reasons, and I'll get into that. It's going to be the main beef of the show. But one of the things that he said was that Tua Tagovailoa's name is very difficult to pronounce. I still remember when the Miami Dolphins signed Ndamukong Suh, and I had to learn how to say his name, or when the Dolphins drafted Noah Igbenogany, I was looking at his name and I was trying to read it and I was spelling it. And I'm like, wait, is this how you spell that? Is this how you say it? And I had to look it up and I had to wait for somebody to tell me, oh, it's pronounced this way. Oh, that's how you say it? So when Tua Tagovailoa came up, like for a long time, I was just calling him Tagovailoa. Like there was no tongue. I didn't say tongue of Iloa. I said Tagovailoa, which was incorrect, obviously, because that's just how it reads. You know, every kid, at least any kid who was my age at the time, was going to be saying, growing up with the phonics books and learning how to sound out words, and you would see Tagovailoa, and you would not think tongue. That's not the first sound that would come to mind. And if you were in school and you were doing phonics, if you said that, the teacher would probably correct you. Well, guess what, teach? You're wrong. It's tongue of Iloa. Get used to the Hawaiian pronunciation. But I digress. So one of the reasons was that his name is hard to pronounce. Okay, fine, whatever. One of the other things is that he is very polarizing, and this is the part that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to elaborate on. And this is something that we've actually discussed previously on other shows, and I've talked about it with other people, but it's the fact that Tua Tagovailoa actually throws with his left hand. So what is the big deal about throwing with his left hand? Part of the problem, and Mike McDaniel alluded to this, is that people have a tendency to not like things that are different. And this is very much the case. In the regular, just Joe Schmo, non-football related world, it's still the truth there, and it's just as much the truth now here in the NFL that it is out there. People don't like when things look different. We've seen all the videos. Anybody who's been on Twitter, and if you don't know about it, I encourage you to just look it up, just to kind of give your brain a little puzzle to work out. Is you look up Tua Tagovailoa, except the video has been flipped, so now he throws like a right-handed quarterback. And you watch and you see that, and suddenly your brain is like, oh, I recognize this. I like this a lot more. And you would be surprised how many comments are out there solely discussing, whoa, what's going on? My brain can't handle this. Why does it look so much better now that he's a right-handed quarterback? And that is the exact same sentiment that pretty much everybody has. Either the comments are either all the same comment of, I can't believe how much better this looks. It's either that, or it's making fun of people who are acting like this is some kind of huge revelation. So Mike McDaniel understands this. Tua being a left-handed quarterback, it tends to make people a little bit biased against him because it just doesn't look right. Now, you may be asking yourself, but Lewis, surely that's a joke, right? Mike McDaniel's just making another joke. It's just more sense of humor, that surely it can't just be that it's just because he's left-handed. Because what difference does it make whether he's left-handed or right-handed, or who cares about any of that? As a matter of fact, and this is where we're going to get the real meat of the show today. A long time ago, and by long ago I mean about a year ago or so now. No. If it came out in September of 2022, that means it's been actually less than a year, but it was still an awesome article. And I will go ahead and I will leave a link to it in the description below if you guys want to go ahead and read it for yourselves. But this article was written by a friend of mine. He's by the name of Daniel Martinez, and he is actually a brain doctor. So he actually has the way of kind of unlocking the mindset of human beings. So he wrote this article on a website called medium.com, and he's a neurospecialist, and he explains why people seem to have this just vitriol against Tua because of how ridiculous this whole left-handed situation is. And so he says, and I quote, "Here's the neurology behind this, and by this I mean why you dislike watching Tua Tagovailoa throw the football." So he says, and I quote, When your eyes see Tagovailoa begin to execute a pass, they reflect this atypical stimuli to your occipital lobe, i.e. the cerebral lobe located in the rear of your brain. It controls vision processing and image response, which then scans your temporal lobe, i.e. the housing visual memory, for other examples of a lefty throwing a football but comes up empty when it doesn't find enough data points to confirm the normalcy of what you're viewing. It yells frantically to your frontal lobe and amygdala, i.e. where your emotions and memories interact. Something is wrong. This is not usual. We're not accustomed to this. I don't like this. And all of this happens in a split second. So I just used a whole bunch of big words, and I hope I didn't lose anybody there. But he also gives it to you in a nutshell. To your brain, which is vehemently designed to be apprehensive of change, Tua Tagovailoa's throwing motion may as well be that venomous snake coming directly at you. You see a cobra coming at you and it's mad and it wants to bite you. You are running the other way. You don't want anything to do with that thing unless you're the crocodile hunter or some other Animal Planet superstar who just loves getting up close and personal with snakes. You best of luck to you, dude. But here's the situation. There is actual scientific basis for people not liking Tua, all because he's a left-handed thrower. I throw left-handed. Everything I do is pretty much left-handed. Like if I use my right hand for something, the most I can really do with it is, okay, I can kind of make sure that I need hold on to like a handle and then use my left hand for all the dexterity. When I'm cooking, when I'm using a pencil, when I'm using my mouse, I use it left-handed, which is actually kind of difficult because now that I am at work, they suddenly gave us all these right-handed mice, and I'm feeling like this is discrimination against left-handed people because this mouse is not compatible with my left-handedness. So where's my left-handed mouse? But that's the same concept. You see somebody who's left-handed, you see them throwing the ball left-handed. There's a different spin on the ball because you're left-handed. That's why people talk about, they're getting a left-footed punter. It makes the spin go backwards. To Bill Belichick and his left-footed punters is always supposed to be some gamesmanship there. Left-footed punter, ball reverses, and then suddenly it's so much more difficult to catch. It does have a factor. So if you can acknowledge that there's a factor in a left-footed punter and how it's different from being a right-footed punter, it's the same concept for a left-handed quarterback. And I believe that this might actually be a big part of why people don't like Tua so much. Tua is the nicest guy in the world. You've seen him do things. He's donated to Tuanon, and God rest his soul that he is gone now, and he's hopefully and just in a much better place. And I hope that his family is well taken care of. But you know what? The Miami Dolphins fan base, Tua himself has gone out of his way to make it so that his family will now be well taken care of in his absence. So Tuanon, the founder of Tuanon, Eric Carmona, he's no longer with us. But you know what? Just the fact that Tua went out of his way to be able to acknowledge them, to be able to donate to their cause, to make it so that he shows that his appreciation for everything that he's done. Not every football player does that. And it's not just Tua. He basically is not the first one to do it, but he was also the one who brought the most attention to it because Tuanon was for Tua. It was to defend Tua against all the people who were against him, against the Chris Simses of the world, who, by the way, that gentleman, I don't know why. I don't like to call for people's jobs, but there are certain things that I feel like you should receive some level of... I'm trying to find a safe word for it because I don't want to say anything too terrible, but I feel like there should be some level of discipline whenever you make it about you and complaining that, Tua donated to somebody who made fun of me on Twitter. Dude, it's Twitter. I get made fun of all the time. In fact, pretty much every time I tweet something, I have somebody in my mentions or my DM saying, you're an idiot. That's just how social media is. You just have to live with it. And Chris Sims, of all people, being the kind of guy with a platform that he has, he should know that and acknowledge that and live with it. Not that I am encouraging people to go and attack him. There's no need for that either. But when it happens, just understand that social media and Twitter and Facebook and whatever you're on, Instagram, that is not the real world. So just my little PSA for Chris Sims there. So people dislike Tua. Part of it, I think, is because, yes, he is a left-handed quarterback. It's something that the human brain just looks at and says, this is not right. This doesn't look normal. Tua, just as a reminder to everybody, is the only left-handed quarterback who is starting in the NFL. Not too long ago, there have been others. I still remember that Michael Vick, he set the NFL ablaze for a little bit, and he was a left-handed quarterback. Obviously, people remember Steve Young for what he did. I'm trying to think of other well-known left-handed quarterbacks, and it's kind of eluding me right now. Steve Young, Michael Vick. Trying to think. It's like, who else is out there? I'm trying to remember how many other left-handed quarterbacks there were, and just it's really not coming up with a whole bunch of names here. I can't really think of anybody else at the moment. But Tua Tagovailoa, he's an outlier. He's right-handed. He's a right-handed person throwing the ball with his left hand because his father trained him to throw the ball with his left hand. I don't know if there's a competitive edge to that. For whatever I've seen, for whatever research I've done, Tua's father, Galu, just wanted somebody to be a left-handed person with him. He doesn't want to be the only left-handed person in the family. And I guess congratulations, Tua throws left-handed, and he seems to be successful with it. So I'm glad that you were able to adapt to your father's wishes, and who knows, maybe it does have an effect. Maybe it makes it harder for defenders to intercept you when you do make an errant pass, because all your teammates know how to catch the ball from you. So I guess there's that. And it's not like the other team can scout a left-handed quarterback properly. Any throw that's going to be done with the left hand is probably going to come out wobbly as all get out. Like, I can't throw with my right hand. Ask me to throw with my right hand, and the ball's going to go about 10 feet. But throw me with my left hand, I can get it pretty far. But right-handed, forget it. It looks awful. It looks terrible. It looks like I just came out of the womb, and I'm trying to desperately figure out what am I supposed to do with this strange object in my right hand. So that's it. I really think that that's where it boils down to. And I think that as more people start to get used to the idea of seeing Tua throw the football, I think that you're going to start to see the level of just discussion against him, the level of vitriol against him. I think that's finally going to start to go down, because now whenever people start to dig back in their memories of left-handed quarterbacks, they're going to remember just more of Tua. They're going to see more of Tua doing awesome things. They're going to see more of Tua doing amazing plays. And people are starting to catch on, I think. I think people are finally starting to acknowledge, okay, there's something really special here. We just need to wait and see if he can stay healthy. We're starting to see that people are turning around a little bit on Tua. That's my personal opinion based on what I've seen here, based on what the national media seems to be talking about. There are less people saying Tua's not the guy, Tua's not the guy. That's no longer the case. I think people are starting to finally get used to it. There are going to be some people who are going to stick to the courage of their convictions. That was the last one that Mike McDaniel brought up, is that people are just very convicted. They are very passionate about their points of view. To quote Skip Bayless, sticking with the courage of my convictions. They're not going to change their minds no matter what you do. But if that's what you want to do, that's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. But for all those people who are looking at this left-handed quarterback and their brains are just having a brain fart, well, guess what? Eventually, you're going to be able to get over that. You're going to see that Tua's not out to hurt you. He's not out to just explode your brain. He is here to just hopefully win a Super Bowl with these Miami Dolphins. So that's going to be it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening to my little scientific journey here. It's always fascinating to me whenever I can find something that just gives a new perspective on something that we always have discussions about. Tua being a left-handed quarterback, when I first read that article last year, I thought it was the most fascinating thing I had ever seen in my life. And the fact that a friend of mine is the one who wrote it, it just made it even more amazing to me. That man is a very smart man. You're very wise to listen to him. Again, I'm going to leave his article in the description below, so that way you'll be able to go ahead and read it for yourself. It's a really good read. So we're going to end it here. Like I said, if you haven't already done so, make sure you check out You Break Wheel Fix if you need to get your wheels repaired, or if you just want to give your ride the Dolphins makeover of a lifetime. And you can check out prizepicks.com. Use that promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. So that way, again, that means that you put in your $100 and you won't even have to touch that money until you get through the $100 that Prize Picks give you of their own free will. So again, thank you all so much for listening. We will see you all next time for another episode of Fins Nation.